There's never been a better time than now to stop what you're doing and tune in to Straight Up, TAB Radio's weekly podcast that will guide you through the difficult journey that is the punt. Whether it be racing or sport, the Straight Up team has your back. Now, from the studios of TAB Radio, welcome to Straight Up.
Yes, welcome along, Rylie Morgan. How are you?
Hello, Mart.
How you going? Three-quarter time of the Flemington Carnival. They tell me the bank account's looking good.
Wasn't due to my sharp punting, Marty, but it's not looking too bad at the moment. I've got a good feeling about you today, Mart. I reckon you're going to be good for us.
I just don't like that feeling. You've got a good feeling about me. What's all that about?
I reckon you're going to give us some good value today.
McGuane gets past Brown. They're lifting the pies. They can sense it. McGuane's had 5 bounces. Nearly get another one. Round he goes. In he goes to an open goal. Micky McGuane. Goal of the year.
Mick McGuane joins us on Straight Up for this AFL preview thanks to Dankz Furniture.
You won't see better than that.
With 6 local stores in the metro area, there's one near you.
Yes, Dankz Furniture, 6 great locations: Osborne Park, Joondalup, Willerton, Port Kennedy, Midland and Mandurah. Family owned and run for 50 years. Clayton and Michael Arnold are keen supporters of the racing industry here in WA. We welcome along Mick McGuane to Straight Up. Hi, Mick.
G'day, Marty. G'day, Rylie.
How are you, Mick? How has the week been?
Well,
obviously very busy over there. 3/4 of the way done into the Melbourne Cup Carnival. How's it been, Mick? Have you backed any winners?
Derby Day was good. Unconscious on Melbourne Cup Day. And chopped out basically today, but I needed the second horse, Powers of Opal, to win the Oaks, but was clearly beaten by the same horse that beat in the Wakeful on Saturday, Treasured Moment. Both those horses went terrific on Saturday. They backed up, got the trip. A little bit unlucky, Powers of Opal, 3 wide, no cover for a huge portion of the race. And Frosty Lane just got the job done, positioned his horse beautifully, always in the run. It looked the one to beat.
It's a race to follow, isn't it, Mart? Into the Oaks, the Wakeful.
I think it was the 39th time I heard Matty Hill say it, that the winners come out of the Wakeful.
Yeah, it's got a great record, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Over a period of time, a lot of really impressive fillies get the job done on the Saturday, Derby Day, and they back up and they win as comprehensively as what they do 4 or 5 days earlier. So the trainers, Matty Laurie and also John Sargent, their teams are flying at the moment. Matt Laurie's on a crest of a wave. You can back him with confidence. If you see one of his runners going around at the moment, he's clearly getting the job done with all horses in all grades, travels to the city, travels to the bush, and still gets the job done. And John Sargent, as we know, is a very patient trainer from New Zealand who now resides out of Sydney, and his horse went terrific and had Oaks written all over it probably 6-7 weeks ago. Just unfortunately today, got a little bit of a squeeze at the barrier, probably didn't get to where it wanted to get to in the run and was caught a little bit wide, but I thought it was gallant in defeat.
Now, Mick, we've got 3 teams to get through today, taking a look at every AFL side following this trade period being wrapped up and how their list is looking heading into next year. We'll go through Gold Coast, GWS and Hawthorn today. Starting off with the Suns, Mick. What have you made of their trade period? Yet another season where many, including myself, thought they had the talent and the fixturing to be able to play finals football, yet they were once again unable to do so.
Yeah, they were really disappointing after the halfway point, I thought. I watched a lot of their training sessions because I was up there at the Gold Coast at Christmas time, and I was privy to probably 5 sessions that I went and watched them, and I thought, gee, Hardwick's got them ticking over beautifully. Structurally, they look really strong, not dissimilar to the Richmond model. They went into game sense on a number of occasions, and they had a lot of their better personnel up and going and playing really strong practice match footy, call it that way. And you just saw a real complete buy-in with what Dimmer was trying to put in place. And the most important thing is barking instructions in a really strong and assertive manner to get it done the right way. And if anyone compromised that, he'd pull them up, stop the drill. And I thought this is what this group need. And I thought the way they started their year, I thought it was really positive. But in saying that, they were once again disappointing until they master the travel element of what AFL footy offers. You know, we've seen the great West Coast Eagles teams, master that journey of coming across the state and still getting wins on the road, which banks victories and gives you a chance to qualify so you can actually participate at the back end of the year to win a flag. Gold Coast have got to master that, and the word consistency comes to mind with them. You can't afford to pick and choose in AFL footy, and at this moment, this group certainly pick and choose when they provide their optimum level. They're competitive. When it doesn't and it wanes, and they're about 10% off, that's when they get beaten and beaten comprehensively.
Mick, you mentioned about their away record as one, but is this playing group a bit like the Essendon group? They're sort of inflicted. Are they going to be able to get it done at any stage, or does it have to be a complete overhaul, move a lot of them out and start again?
Yeah, well, that's one thing internally they've got to probably gear their heads around, and Hardwick's the man to get into the psyche of the players because, as you know, fellas, AFL footy's, probably 9/10 played above your shoulders. Everyone's as talented as each other. But what separates the good from the great is that mental strength that we don't often talk about, and maybe they're just a little bit mentally fragile. Until you gain, obviously, the right training habits and master that, you can't pick and choose with your performance. And I think until they get that bedded down and they're consistent at training, which will form the right habits for match day, that's when they can be taken seriously. Now, you talk about their trade period. Ryalie's a very competent player, especially coming off halfback with his energy and his bounce and his creativity. Noble is used in that part of the ground for Collingwood. Will he be used in that same part of the ground for Gold Coast? You'd think that would be the case, but his ball use is a little bit questionable. He does turn the ball over, John. And they've got Elliot Himmelberg, who's come into the group to probably be a little bit flexible, but I'm not sure whether he's an AFL player on a consistent basis. They lose Lukosius, which frees up money, but also a talent. And they've got some pretty strong draft choices in the 30s and 40s and 50s where there might be some good players available. Now, we saw a few of their academy players, Jed Walter, for example, key forward to complement Benny King. Let's hope that works. And young Leo Lombard, I don't know whether you boys have seen him, but he's certainly got some real top-end talent, some speed. He's got a low centre of gravity. He wins his own footy. He's pretty dynamic once he wins it. So maybe, just maybe, we might see another exciting young player who's not dissimilar to Touk Miller, the way he carries himself and conducts himself from all reports.
Now, Mick, I know you probably couldn't have referred to this year given they were still adjusting to Hardwick and his, I guess, the system that he's brought in at the Suns as a line-in-the-sand season, but the young talent's there, it's been there. They've given up further draft picks now for proven talent, which I think many would say is what they needed through players like Noble and Rioli off halfback, that halfback run and ball use that's going to give them. You'd have to say, though, that this season coming up, 2025, this has to be that line-in-the-sand year, doesn't it?
Absolutely, Riley. It's the honeymoon's over for Hardwick. When he first went there, I just remember those words that he said, that a huge portion of the ex-premiership teams on this list. And if that's the case and you really believe that, they've got no excuses next year. They've got to have no regrets. They've got to get to work over some. I'm going up there again prior to Christmas just to spend a couple of weeks up there, go and watch Brisbane, compare them, how they're going, but also the way Gold Coast are tracking. And obviously with the disappointment they returned this year, you'd think that would be a sting in the tail to get to work, knowing full well their big brother up the road held that premiership cup aloft. So I think there's a lot to play for. Hardwick understands to win premierships, you need a lot of hard work and a lot of luck to go your way. But this group that he's actually trusted in and he's sorting to reshape in a way, there's no excuses next year.
Okay, let's go to GWS, a case of so close but so far for them through that final series, and what happened post that. How do they bounce back again from that?
Yeah, well, they just can't let that that semi-final loss sort of meander into pre-season. They've got to be strong enough to say, well, okay, it is what it is. They were 44 points up, I think, by memory. They succumbed to losing that final to the eventual winner in the Brisbane Lions. Who knows what could have happened if they hold sway that day? We could be talking about GWS holding the Premiership Cup aloft. Who knows? But it's a team that's stacked with talent. There's no question they've got some really strong players across all lines. Whitfield off halfback's a barometer for them. We know their midfield through Tom Green's always super competitive, wins first possession games to give them good territory looks. To give the likes of Hogan, who had a sensational year, and also Toby Green, who struggled a little bit but got going late. And I think young Aaron Cadman's an emerging player who just needs to continue to be played, and he'll develop into a very good key forward in the future. They've lost some experience, which does concern me, in Perryman role player, Cumming role player, Peatling role player. I reckon Haynes was really struggling as it was, even though he's found his new home at Carlton. And they bring into a player like Jake Stringer. I'm really intrigued to see where he fits into the scheme of things. His power, his forward craft is pretty good when it comes to goal kicking. But one thing you'd think he'd have to buy in for GWS's way to secure a spot in that best 22 week in, week out is his defensive forward pressure, because that's one thing Essendon were adamant was lacking, and that's the reason why they entered their forward 50, which we spoke about last week about the skinny entry as opposed to the fat side entry. If Jake Stringer was out one-on-one, they were reluctant to go there, because if he didn't win it or the kick was bad, he lost that 50-50 ball that he was going to be involved in, the ball would bounce out because his forward 50 pressure is not where it should be.
Mick, you mentioned the Giants are a list that are stacked with talent, and I concur, and I'm sure everyone else would as well. But my follow-up to that would be, do they rely too heavily on their stars and on their top half, and have now the players that they've lost in this off-season, you talk about Perryman, Cumming and Peatling particularly as role players, does that put too much strain on their depth now in that regard?
Yeah, what it does is really does challenge their depth component. There's no question about that. It's a very valid point you make, Rylie. But also it gives opportunity to some of these younger players that, they spoke highly of for a period of time. Like, I love Daniels, what he stands for. His work rate as a forward 50 player, creativity, goal kicker, puts great pressure on. I thought Bedford elevated his game, and he probably stretched his own limitations to a point, in the view that we thought he was going to be a small forward, pressure forward with great speed to tackle, harass, turn the ball over or kick goals himself. But to go to the middle of the ground and actually tag and take away some of the opposition's best midfielders as a string to his bow, which can complement the others in that part of the ground and just let them play. I think defensively with Sam Taylor behind the ball, I think he's one of the best defenders in the competition. In front of the ball, we saw Hogan's exploits this year. He was absolutely fantastic. We know Toby Green offers up a point of difference where he can be out of the game for a huge portion of it, but in a 10-minute patch he can kick 3 goals that gets the team up and going or back into the game, or even win a game off his own boot, and that's the type of player he is. But he's not getting any younger either. So it's all about, once again, a bit like Gold Coast, there's no excuses with this group. They've got some elder statesmen with great experience. They've lost some role players. They're going to endear themselves to some youth who can complement the effort and the energy that's required to play consistent footy. They've got the personnel to play finals footy. There's no question about that still, but how far they go, time will tell.
Mick, we're going to take this event from Ipswich, which is 2 minutes off. Damien Courtney tipping 9, 8, 1 and 7. But I just want to get back to you about GWS, a question of those 2 games in the finals that they lost to Sydney and Brisbane. In your mind, was it a case of that high volume style of play that they use, where they just ran out of legs, or did they choke? Did they stuff it up, or is it a combination of both?
Yeah, I think it was a combination of both, to be honest, Marty. I thought there was opportunity to play quick, and they probably went into a bit of self-preservation mode. We've got a lead, let's protect it, where they got to 44 points in front. And I think at the second occasion they were about 31 points in front after Brisbane rallied, got within 8, then it stretched out again, and then they lost it at the back end, as we know. But when they played that attacking brand, that running in numbers, handball over kick, whereas Brisbane were kick over handball, it was just a contrasting style. And the way Brisbane aggressively moved the ball because they had to throw everything at the Giants, they found a way to win. And I thought there was opportunity for GWS at times to return serve and go back at the opposition quick, particularly if they were offside, because they were trying to attack the game. They went into safe mode, and I thought that's where they lost the game. So their lessons learnt, and I think in review they would have been pretty strong to say we've gone away from why we were in front, and we went into a bit of self-preservation mode, which cost them dearly at the back end of the year, especially that Brisbane Lions game.
Okay, we are with Micky McGuane for Dankz Furniture. Go to dankz.com.au for all your furniture needs. And Mick, he did mention Robbie Dolan. He's his man. Do you reckon he's just going to go on and ride? I know he's suspended after today. He heads back to Melbourne, actually, to get singing again on the mic. But do you reckon he'll stop riding winners now? You see it happen, don't you, Mick? Like Mickey D, after he won that Caulfield Cup, went to a next level. And this guy now, he might just end up anywhere.
Yeah, it's a great point you make, Marty. It's amazing what a big race victory can do to one's mindset. You're riding in front of 90,000 only 2 days ago and get a victory, and then all of a sudden you have to enter or wait to the last at Ipswich on a short price favourite to get the job done. But once again, as we witnessed just there, he had the ability to switch the whip from right hand to left hand to straighten the horse up, and it found the line. He was pretty confident on the long way out. But that comes with knowing where the winning post is, and it's a sense of timing, and he would derive great benefit. And I just hope his career spikes on the back of the opportunity he got for riding that winner on Melbourne Cup Day.
It is one of the great stories, isn't it, Mick? One of the great stories there on Tuesday, Melbourne Cup Day.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is why you gravitate to the race, because as much as the imports come in and they add a different flavour to the race, and it's probably challenged to get it right from a form perspective, then you get your John Simons and Sheila Laxon, who are training partnership, and Robbie Dolan in racing parlance probably a no-namer when it comes to the big stage. He certainly went past a lot of the more renowned jockeys, found the right lane. There was a bit of a bicycle track on Tuesday where you had to be 1, 2 or 3 off the fence, no wider. And he certainly found that right lane to give his horse every opportunity to spear through and put its head out where it mattered.
Okay, now, Mick, we might move on to our last team we are going to take a look at today in the Hawks. And wow, didn't they have a successful trade period. They were able to bring in Josh Battle from St Kilda and Tom Barras, which you'd think just opens up a plethora of options for Sam Mitchell heading into next year with players like James Sicily, like Blake Hardwick. How do you see them and how their list now, Mick, shapes up heading into 2025?
Yeah, well, they were the emerging team, weren't they? They were a little bit rudderless early when they were 0-5. But for them to turn it around the way they did and to play in the manner they did, and I'm talking about contest, but also how they defended, but then how they attacked. They just got that balance right in offence and defence. That's the reason why they were very difficult to play against, hard to contain, because they wanted to play an exciting brand. And Sam Mitchell's openly said when he took the job over, particularly over here, he wanted to play in an offensive brand that will bring people to watch, sense of excitement, sense of fun. But also I thought initially they probably went too far one way. And from my understanding, they had strong messaging around, okay, as much as we've sold that message to be offensively minded and take the game on when it presents, we still have to defend the opposition because we just can't rely on playing one way. And they got that balance right probably from around about round 8 or 9. And then by the back end of the year, if they weren't the best team defensively, they were certainly up in the conversation. If they weren't the best in attack, they were certainly up there in the conversation with that as well. And then you add Battle and Barras, who are probably the twin towers, not dissimilar to Brian Lake and when Josh Gibson went to Hawthorn when Clarkson was the coach. And then you ask yourself the question, as you rightfully pointed out, Riley, what's it do to James Sicily, who's got that flexibility in his game? Does he go forward more often? Hardwick played forward and kicked 4 or 5 goals in a game against Port Adelaide earlier this year when he did start forward and hit the scoreboard. Sicily going forward is an interesting discussion and a debate. I just love his ball use coming out of the back end. He just sets up so many attacking forays forward because of his precision. He's happy to be aggressive. He lifts his eyes to get it into an area where people would prefer not to go, but he wants to back himself in with the leg that he's got, and I think that kickstarts their offence. So I'm intrigued what they'll do there. Scrimshaw's an evolving player. And the big one for me is their forward 50 with the Watsons, Ginivans, Dylan Moore. They've got great speed. And Mitch Lewis, he's the forgotten man at Hawthorn. I think he's going to be a recruit for him if he gets his knees right. And he's going to be a player of note because one thing we do know, he can straighten them up. He can compete strongly, and then ground-level players in Watson, Ginnivan and Moore, they'll get to work. And I think he's going to be a bona fide A-grade recruit for when he gets back on the park next year, and he'll be a good target for them.
Mick, what is the risk, the brand they played this year that worked so well for them over the last 15 weeks of the season, particularly in their front half where they were able to get push numbers really high up the ground and then turn their opposition back towards goal with the speed that they possess? What is the risk that that system gets worked out and potentially exploited a bit, much like we saw with Collingwood at stages this year comparatively with their premiership season?
Yeah, I've been thinking about that, Riley, in terms of what would I do or what would a coaching staff that are involved with do if a Hawthorn model was consistently presented to you. And I suppose when you talk, say, a couple of years ago, there was an area at Brisbane when you had sort of slow running backs in Daniel Rich, and everyone felt that if you got the Hawthorn players up the ground and Rich want to engage you or play that sort of spatial defence structure, as soon as you ball watched and they got good length in their game and they charged forward with precision ball use, you'd still score. So I think the balance of the discussion revolves around who's playing on who, what spatial defence are we going to adopt, do we have a goalkeeper as such to make it basically 17 versus 18, but you've got one out the back to support someone charging through, then you catch him on the way through. And you need that hybrid defender in that situation who can play tall but also play small and cover those spitting players like Watson or Moore that do charge forward to lengthen the ground. And the other part that you've got to get right, because they make the ground so big, they get good width, they've got selfless runners who want to get chalk on their feet, but then really lengthen the ground as well. All these pockets of space open up, and the good ball users off half-back, namely Sicily, because of that selfless nature of how they play, how attuned they are to how they want to play, it opens up these offensive threats. And when you've got Sicily's precision leg hitting those targets, and then you look up the ground after you receive that first kick, you've already got Dylan Moore, or you really already got Watson charging towards goal. And that's the reason why they score. That is very hard to defend against. So structurally, it's going to be a challenge for any team to make sure you get it right, because as I've said time and time again, ball watchers destroy you. It's the worst form of defence, and if you ball watch against a team like Hawthorn with the speed they've got and the precision ball use they've got, that's when they'll hurt you out the back.
Okay, 3 or 4 minutes off Northern this next race there. So I just want to sum this one up. Current market to win the premiership, Hawthorn are second favourites at $8. Is that an overreaction?
Yeah, I thought it'd be double figures, probably more the $12 to $15 mark, I would have thought. I'm expecting them to be quite competitive. There's no question about that. But are they going to be, in the $6, $7 mark regularly throughout the course of next year? $8 to start the season? That's a bit of a debate for me.
Mick, we've got 3.5 until Northern, so let's rattle through. Have we got tips at Ballarat this afternoon?
Yeah, I did. I've had a look at the Ballarat program. I reckon there, for our listeners that love a bet at the trots, I reckon number 3 in race 3 might be a bit of an each-way play to beat number 1. Calypso Mistress might find the front, but Better's Blue Violet's going well for Connor Roan. And I think around the $8 each way, it might be a play. Be patient with race 5. We've tipped this horse to you guys before. I think it's no doubt the best horse in the race, but race 5, number 10, Bet Late. It's a trotter that can jump out of its gear approaching the start. So have your tickets filled out and put it in late, or put your bet in the bet slip on whoever corporate book making a bet with. And if you see it score up and it's not 30, 40, 50 metres out the back, it can certainly win at good odds around $4. And the one I want to take on, Cincinnati's a horse to beat in race 6. There's no question about that, but $1.70, that doesn't offer up any value at all. I want to back James Herbertson, number 6, Vicky's Joe to beat it. They bet up $9 here this morning. It's into $5, $5.50 on Sportsbet. So I'm thinking you can probably have a good bet over there with TABradio, and they might be offering around the $5 or $6 mark, and our listeners can probably back it each way with confidence that it'll run out of its skin. Okay, Mick, starting to load here at Northern Friday night here at Gloucester Park. Where we're broadcasting from is the Tab Touch WA Pacing Cup. What about Captain Ravishing? He's currently at $4. Well, he was super last week. I watched that race with interest. I thought Leverett Joe was the leader and the winner, to be honest, and Captain Ravishing worked twice in the run, which it hasn't been renowned for doing so since it's come back to its original stable when it was with Emma and Clayton. It certainly had more depth to it, but we hadn't seen the horse make 2 or 3 runs in transit. But it certainly did that the other night, and I thought, gee, it was pretty strong through the line and won fairly comprehensively. It's a hot race, isn't it?
Yes, sure is.
Mr. Smarty might find the front, not sure. Penny Tiger's probably the early leader. Minstrel will have a look, but probably Penny Tiger will hold him comfortably. And Captain Ravishing's got the trailing draw where you think it'll be able to follow Minstrel wherever it goes. And then Gary Hall Jr.'s got a decision to make with Mr. Smarty, how much pressure he wants to put on from the outset, which could set the race up for Captain Ravishing because its point-to-peak speed is as good as anyone when it's healthy in Australia.
Mick, we love chatting with you. Dankz Furniture, the comfort of home, bring you every Thursday. We'll chat again next week on Straight Up.
Good on you, Marty. Thanks, boys. See you, Riley.
Thanks, Mick.
The Perth Racing Preview is where the Straight Up team finds you the winners, and here's the Straight Up team with their preview of Saturday racing from Ascot.
Yes, looking forward to this. McGuane, a very good afternoon.
Mart.
Good to have you back.
Riles.
Brad.
Haven't seen enough of you in the media this week, Rylie.
No.
Look at me, Morgan.
You'd do anything for the right price, McGuane.
You even have to just
give
Google,
me that.
what's the third largest city in India, Riles? That's Kolkata. That hasn't been mentioned enough this week.
I might be moving there. I'll be on the next flight out.
That's a news story now, Mart. You get interviewed if you win a Kolkata at a bowls function.
It's actually, you know what, it was a stitch up. It's just so happened that there was a table full of TABradio personnel on course at the Manning Bowls Club on Monday night. So, yeah, it was Christian's idea, not mine.
He's got a lot of ideas, Christian. I like him. I like the man. He's an ideas man.
He's an ideas man, exactly.
What about this meeting out there on Saturday? Looks a beauty.
Yeah, there's 9 races. There'll be 9 winners, you'd think.
Haven't been this excited for 7 days.
Group 2 Lee Steere, wait for age, but they tell me the Fair Ether's the race. They're going to put a call out to James Oldring and re-market the whole meeting, according to our man from Kolkata.
Cream everywhere, quality race.
So it's the race I'm most looking forward to out there on Saturday night.
I like the first, the Glenroy Chaff. How's it going to play out there on Saturday? What do you think? We've got the rail at the true position now. This is always interesting, isn't it? What do you think?
Leaning towards maybe slightly off rail, but always on pace until it proves otherwise. But it's been such a good, fair track this season.
Has been fair.
Rail been a bit off.
Maybe a touch, but I reckon that's more wind-related than anything else. So.
It'll be interesting on Saturday. Forecasts wind southeasterly, turning southwesterly in the afternoon, back to a southeasterly later in the evening. So could just pay to keep track of the flags out there on course on the weekend. But, yeah, fresh pad of grass in those inside lanes, and you'd anticipate it'll play fairly as it has up until this point of the season.
And don't forget, too, the York Cup's on Sunday, so we need to... Is the market up?
Indeed.
Oh, we'll have a look at that as well.
The time-honoured.
Yeah. Yeah, we're going out for that one. That is for sure.
Where are you going to make this one?
Where will you be sitting, Mark? Where will you perch up for the day? Yeah.
Members. I'm always a members man. Yeah. So we've got a bus going out there. There's 33 of us, I think, on the bus at this stage. There's room for 2 more. So if you want to come, just text us 0427 789 571.
Duppy's already texted. Save one of those spots for me. I'll be there.
Right, the first, the Glenroy Chaff over the 2,200 metres. This is time to go 12.34 and simply 2.60. Hemlock Stone 8 into 6. Manavendra 16 into 7.50. Snuck that one in, didn't they? Stop Dreaming's 21. Affluential is 6. Candlelight Supper 11. I Love Your Smile 13 into 9.50. Kerman Rockhouse, yours at 7.50. And Red Dwarf 26. What about the big Kerman last week? He's good, isn't he?
Love the way he goes about it. Simply 1,000 at the 265. Candlelight Supper 800 places at the 340. Candlelight Supper 300 each way at the 11. Manavendra 400 places at the 340. Hemlock Stone money piling up here. 300 at the 7. 300 at the 8. I Love Your Smile, Mart. Eastern States Pro money 300 at the 10. Manavendra, there is some each way snipping there too, Manavendra. So making a pretty nice book at this stage. Kerm friendless, Affluential friendless.
Bit slow out of the blocks today for our punters. Get those Barbaro Butchers quaddies in 0427 789 571. Only a couple in at this stage.
Do you know who Elko is?
Yeah, Elko. He was quick to remind us that he'd won it as well.
$36, 36 units.
Oh, wow.
So little 4x3x1x3 action. There was quite a few got it. Obviously, it was I think it paid 9. Would it pay 900?
Yeah, something like that. Maybe even a bit less.
I think 5 or 6 got it, but Elko was the man. 36. That's a good effort. Right. What about this first? Can they beat Simply or not?
They can, I think.
Really?
It's never ideal to lose Pike for a claiming apprentice, particularly in in a staying race.
Wow.
That's never ideal, but he has been taking all before him in pretty impressive fashion as well, might I add. Bradley, just having a quick skim at this race last night, didn't go into it in great depth, admittedly. Not a staying race man, as you all know, but Hemlock Stone does get a 2.5 kilo swing for a tick under a 2-length margin the last time they met. And you look at the jockeys, and Clint Johnston Porter sticks with him and simply loses Pike for Braden Garth. So I think on that fact alone, there are going to be some in the corner of Hemlock Stone at the each-way odds to be able to turn the tables, Mart, and that's probably the way I'd go from a tipping perspective. But wouldn't surprise me to see Kerman Rock run them ragged again on the backup. That's how to ride him, and Kate Pateman rode him a 12 out of 10, I thought, there last weekend, and gets down in the weights to 54.5 kilos once again, Brad. There doesn't look to be a great deal of opposition up on speed either.
100%. I love the fact that Kerm's in this race. We'll get to find a few out. And 4 weeks between runs for Hemlock Stone, a little bit of a concern for me, and did have some reported issues after last start as well. Affluential, I really liked, it was just a sort of grounding return, Affluential, but I really liked that mile run, and I'm leaning towards having a little something on it at about that $7 mark. Just a proper stayer, and should get a nice bit of tempo, Pike on board to chase down. Simply is a case of setting your price, isn't it? You just, what price do you want to take about Simply up in the weights with obviously that jockey change there, which everyone will have a different opinion on what price it should be, and no one will,
he's the only, he's the only apprentice jockey in the race when you look at the field, and that's just not one of mine.
But with that in mind, he's got a pretty decent gait. He's got a pretty decent sort of racing pattern. He doesn't... Pike does make them all look easy to ride, doesn't he? But really seems a pretty reasonable steer. So it's all about setting your mark there, Mart. And what's yours? Because you're keen still. You think it's the best horse in the race. So.
Well, if you put up $3, would it get to $3?
Yeah, there's every chance.
Looking likely.
I'll keep backing it until it loses.
I loved how Clint Johnston Porter rode Affluential out for about 400 metres past the post as well there first up, just to give him that extra little bit of work heading to these sort of distance ranges. So he'll be fit enough.
Okay.
The horse like that, it's more a matter of probably keeping a little bit of sprint in its legs than the fitness. It's just such a natural stayer, obviously.
Healthiest horse in Perth. Simply. Very healthy horse. Beautiful skin. Very fit. Bit like yourself.
Equine version of Mart.
Now, punters, Mick McGuane's first tip comes up race 3, and it's not too far away. He's gone race 3, backing the 3 and the 1 here at Ballarat at the Harness. Magical Mick McGuane. What has he got here? Betty's Blue Violet at $9 and Calypso Mistress at $2.35. And you don't like staying races, Riles. You don't want a Melbourne Cup now, they tell me.
No.
2 miles.
The great race, they call it.
Yeah. Yeah.
The great race. Afternoon champions. Went to the fine TAB establishment in Fremantle on Saturday and bumped into the Peng. He must have had a decent collect recently, as he'd gotten rid of the Dunlop KT26s, and he's rocking it. He's rocking a pair of blue and fluoro orange Asics runners. Still not overly keen to acknowledge his fans. Needless to say, there was no selfie had.
Yeah, the KT26s. Now, they would be a bit before your time, but when they came out, you had to get a pair. And obviously, Peng did, and he's kept them.
Well, he's flicked them now.
That's a long time ago.
He's flicked them now.
That's a long time ago.
Good text message, Benny. Thanks for that.
Yeah, well done, Benny. Benny and the Jets.
Benny won the, I believe it was Broken Hill last week. So we'll see Benny next Friday, no doubt.
Woburns Gold descended on them. 2 winners had already picked Switzerland at $5.50, I think it was, and then Woburns Gold got them at $6.50. Last tip of the day for Benny.
Really finding some good value for the Broken Hill competition on the Fridays.
And don't forget the show's there next Friday as well.
You'll be there, Mark.
We'll all be there.
You'll be there, Bradley. You'll be Ubering.
Tell you what, I think there's going to be a big crowd for our first racing on the road show at the Broken Hill. They had a great day too, Melbourne Cup Day.
Oh, there'll be tens of people.
It's one of the, to be fair, it's one of the all-time establishments, so no surprise, Martin.
Mark Bayliss has text one in. Great coverage on Sunday at Narrogin. Rylie Morgan in great form. Would you find a few at Narrogin, did you?
I wouldn't say I found a few, maybe one or two, but...
One of the harder circuits.
I did enjoy working with Big Red, Big Mickey Heaton.
Oh, he's a good operator.
Bit of a different dynamic working with Mickey. I liked it.
You have to look up instead of looking down.
They actually put a little step there for me, and I said, no thanks, champion.
That's
welcome to my life.
That's Scotty. That's Scotty's step, isn't it?
Yeah.
Wasn't there a photo going around?
I said, come on, mate.
Race number 2, the Magic Millions plate. This is for the 2-year-olds, 1,100 metres, and it is time to go 1:14. The scratching is Guard the Moolah, and 1 straight away is 480 firm. 2 Hold My Wine, 4 into 250. Pemberton is 10. Back Chatting 61. Last Mile 41. My Riches is 31 into 16. Pure Mac 21. Swish Go Bango 61. Hard Solo 61. Blow Me Kisses 16. Nature's Reckoning 34. Salve Regina 34. And What do you call this? Telcanco? Talk and Co.
Have it again, champ.
Talk and Co.
Yes, we'll go with that.
Jeez, $3.70. Some beautiful names there. They're putting a lot of time into their names for the 2-year-olds. Well done.
It explains why you call Dougal Kisses, Mart. Hold My Wine, 1,000. Oof, they're keen early on this thing.
He didn't really give you much of a meerkat for this one, did he?
They didn't. Probably deserved one, Mart.
Yeah, probably.
4 into 250. That's a big go.
Decent go.
I wasn't sure about the scratching.
Yeah, big deductions.
Yeah, how much?
52 cents.
Right. Safeguard.
Hold My Wine, 1,000. So market's merging, but 750 at the 380, 1,000 at the 310, another 600 at the 260. Good go, Hold My Wine. That's Eastern States Pro Support there. My Riches Eastern States each way Pro Support rolls at the $16. That's about it. They are the Eastern States Pros really dictating this market at this stage, Ross.
Probably the strongest 2-year-old race we've seen so far in the early stages of the season, Brad. And Hold My Wine, no surprise to see support for him off that debut performance. They went along at a really strong clip, and they were just sort of left up in front, sitting ducks. Straight away was the one back with a bit of cover. I was able to swoop into the race and gun them down right on the post. I thought he was brave to stick on for second the way he did. Going to enjoy another very good run from the barrier. I think he's well enough found by the market at 250 though. There's a bit of depth to this race from a juvenile perspective. Like Talk & Co. trialled up enormous. I thought this filly in her recent trial win where she bolted in by 4 lengths. She looks as though she's got natural early speed. Barrier 7 should allow Chris Parnham to just be able to roll across with her at his own leisure. And she looks very talented, much like her half-sibling Richenko or Rich & Co. goes around later on as favourite on the program. And then Straightaway's win was enormous, even though the race you could probably say was set up for something with a bit of cover to finish off over the top, but it was still a very impressive turn of foot that this filly was able to show to get up and win. And I thought the 400-metre jump out of this Zusane filly for Luke Fernie, Blow Me Kisses, on Monday was one of the more impressive 400-metre jump outs for the 2-year-olds that I've seen so far as well. Drawn a little bit sticky, but gee, I thought that was the jump out of a nice horse with some real ability. So going to be interested to see how she goes on debut as well.
Open race that I'm not really greatly interested in getting involved in, Rolls, except for the fact that I think Hold My Wine is just very short. Straightaway probably shouldn't be double the price of Hold My Wine. I know there's a little...
I tend to agree.
There's race experience and there's a weight switch, etc. But, gee, that's, 250, so that's short enough. Pemberton will improve as well, blinkers and a run under its belt. And there's a few very nice trials as well that are worth watching in the run. So just a watch race for me.
I do usually like trying to find bets in these sort of races, and the way I'm leaning is if this support continues for Hold My Wine, and we saw 440 mid-fours late, a horse like Talk & Co off the back of her trial, she's the way. I'd be happy to back her at that price if she continues to get to ease out in the betting.
One here off the text line from Stephanie. As you boys haven't been in the best of form, is there any chance of getting Brad from Mayland's tips back on? Yes, we have actually got them, Steph, so I'm glad you reminded me because I received the text from the great man this morning. So race 1 is with Simply.
Did Steph have a week off last week?
And race 2, Hold My Wine. There you go. So they're our up-to-date tips there from Brad of Maylands.
Good to have you back, Bradley.
The tip, he went 3 from 1. The one's won, but it was 220. It wasn't the one we wanted to win there for Micky McGuane. But still, you halved your bet. Race number 3, and this is at Ascot on Saturday, the Tab Touch West Speed Platinum Series Heat 2, 1,200 metres. Time to go at 1:54. And Indie Ruler, 10 into 6, right off the top. Climb on top at $13. King Cartel at 7, Swim Through 14. Wicked Venom 9 to 7, 50. Bow Talk 23. Empress of India is 18. Dialing at 23. Janny 650 to 380. Wow, Mia Gusto's 14. Imperialise at 14 in from 20. There's back to few here, Brad. Bisector is 23. Charlie Jane at 21 in from 34. And Rhythmic Bell 26.
You are correct, Mart. They have backed a few here.
That's what you want as a bookmaker?
What you want as a bookmaker is to not have to price races like this.
Well, sorry, mate. Well, get the kid in to do it if you don't like the hard stuff.
Yeah, dink. Jenny.
I think the kid was working on Cup Day.
They're keen on Jenny.
Oh, wow.
They've taken the 650, 400 there, another 400 there, 500 at the $5, Jenny. So it's had 600 at the 440. King Cartel, 500 at the 7. Wicked Venom at 250 at the 750. Indie Ruler. A bit of local sharp money Indie Ruler there at the $10. And more rank and file money there, Jenny.
Plenty of speed in this race on paper, isn't there, Bradley?
Yes.
Plenty of speed. King Cartel, you'd anticipate, goes forward. Indie Ruler knows one way. Imperialise has early speed. Janny has led previously. Charlie Jane will go forward. Then horses drawn out wide who have traditionally done their best work outside the speed as well in Bow Talk and Bisector. There's no shortage of it in this race. It looks very tricky. Janny looks to get the camp on that speed from the good barrier. Reunites with William Pike. Chanel Cooper actually did a pretty good job, I thought, Brad, last start, trying to keep Clint Johnston-Porter in a pocket on Yorga Pride, but his experience prevailed ultimately in that situation, and I just think she's a deserving favourite because she's going to get such a good run. She's a quirky mare, she has shown, but at the price, I'm happy to look on as not a lot would really surprise here. I've liked the trials of Indie Ruler, has his first race start for the Gangemi team, and he's a 2-time winner in this company previously. Now that they've broken their duck with repossession, hopefully one brings two, the old cricket adage, and he can push forward and likely work his way to the breeze if King Cartel really kicks up, or if not, could even cross and find the fence. Blinkers off and the lugging bit off suggests to me that he's shown they've got a good grasp on getting him to settle a bit better in his races since joining their care, and he's shown over the course of his career as well that he goes very well fresh. And I like the fact that because he's resuming at 1,200 metres, that he's had that pair of 1,000-metre trials, so he should be forward enough to run a big race, I think, Indie Ruler. So if I was looking for a tip, he's probably the way I'd go on an each-way basis. The other that interests me, pending prices late, Wicked Venom, who has had excuses, hasn't had success, but has had excuses over the 1,200 metres in his two attempts previously. He should have won last start, unfortunately, for those that backed him on the drift. But, I think he's one that will get back off the speed. He's going really well. I'm hoping that the amount of tempo in this race should help him to settle, which he has had issues with previously, but seems to be doing a lot better this campaign as well. And with the turn of foot he's got, he's one I could see really poking through late and blousing them.
Yeah, I concur. If you think Wicked Venom will be okay with the 1200, which looks like he's getting more tractable at this stage of his career, definitely could look at. Yeah, Janney, I'm not so sure. Just August Pride beat it really well, I think, and was entitled to beat it by further. And when you look at what else Janney's beat in that race, it was Close Talker, who was 3 wide, no cover, and Goldflakes, who trolled really well, but hasn't settled in any of its runs this campaign. So, and Right to Silence, who had traffic issues. So I'm just not sold on those form lines, but it's that sort of race where, right run, right day, right horse wins it. It's a lottery. So I will mention one. Me Augusto was going to, I reckon, probably run 3rd or 4th almost last start before it ran into traffic on the fence. So if it can jump with them this time and settle a bit closer, which it hasn't been doing, well, which it certainly didn't do last start, that's one I could entertain.
It's one way to describe it. Encountered some traffic. There we go.
Race 3, number 1 there for Bradley 2 by the Wendy Ruler. So Northern race number 5, what have you got there, mate?
Just one of our loyal listeners texting in. One of our listeners has been following Mart's tips the past month and has done their absolute Carmichael hunt, having to sell a few shares in their horses now to keep up. Prayers can get the big asking price. Don't listen to these blokes, Brad, about race 3. They couldn't price their groceries, let alone the rats on stilts running around in that race.
Oh, that's beautiful.
A bit of form.
Yeah, warp speed.
Good text coming through this afternoon. Keep them coming. 0427 789 571.
Yeah, the Carmichael. Northern race number 5. No, but I agree with you. There's no hiding it. Was almost absolved with warp speed, but unfortunately not. Jockey went right instead of going straight, but that's another story.
Psycho Sister.
Psycho, yeah, but I didn't even know it was in until 5 minutes before the race. Okay, let's get it moving. We're on to race number 4, the MCA Poly Track Handicap, and this race is due to go 2:33. Just before we have a look at the favoured runners for Retrovision, how's that text line looking?
It's firing up.
Let's go.
Here we go. Hey, Mart,
Yes.
KT 26s, you could climb as high as you wanted, you could climb any tree you wanted, and you could get just about any girl you wanted. That's Mick from Ellenbrook.
Wow, I don't know about that, Mick. Well, I've never wore him to the nightclub, I know that.
And our man's joined the party. It took him a little while. He's running a bit late today.
Who's
Must
that?
have been very busy, but the Dupster has got in on the text line. Duppy here, boys. Heard a rumour that Rylie had an accident at the Bowls Club after eating too many curried snags. Consolation, I suppose. It was, I can confirm. Won't need to go into that, though. They can get you those curried snags. They're dangerous.
You haven't had curried snags for a while.
Especially if you put 4 in your mouth at once, Ross.
The Peng and I have booked into the Hill for next Friday. He said he's been avoiding Mart after the igloo gag last week. Don't be deceived, as he got those new wheels from a Verge pickup. Race 5, Generosity. Race 6, Diamond Scene. Race 7, September Born. And Race 9, Elite Missile for the Dupster.
Here is an upset. Ray Gunn has announced a retirement. Wow. The Olympian bows out of competitive breakdancing. You know why? Because Trump got in. She knew her days were numbered. Let's have a look at this. 1 defending is 23, 2 Bleecker Street 61, 3 is Magna Lee 41, 4 Richenko 3 to 275. Number 5, Yeah Righto $6. Number 6 Comic Hero 12, 7 Play Dice 21, 8 Barney's World 20. First Beach, the 9 is 460 from 550. King Akid is 13, playing Rio 23. Last Style Bender is 7 in from 8. And Mr. Causeway, 126. What's happened over there, mate?
Oh, just something.
Silly sneeze.
One of those flies from Northern got in my mouth.
The old, the not having the cough button.
Yeah, righto.
Really get
300 at the $6. So they can have it again, champion. Play Dice, 200 at the 20s. Rich & Co, 400 at the 275. You can too. King Akid, bit of each way support there. Playing Rio as it gets on the drift. That's one of ours, isn't it, Mart?
Is it?
I don't know. Maybe it was. They all are eventually. Bit of each way
think you are.
there.
Okay.
Anyway.
They don't last long, mate. Put in the memory bank.
You overestimate how far back that goes with him.
Doesn't go back far.
Yes. Yes. Is that it, Brad, from the wagering side of things?
And I'm spent.
Yes. I am as well.
So am I.
Favourite Rachenko gunned down very, very late after having to do some real work to cross the field last start by a nice horse, Regal Statue, who had the very soft camp on him. You'd think he should be able to kick across the lead again here. I like the fact that even with the pressure he absorbed, he was still comfortably holding the remainder of the field, bar the winner there, Regal Statue, on the post. Just a little, still, Brad, a slight query. The rail back to the true. Fence has been questionable at times with the rail in the true, and also just has been questionable at stages since returning to Ascot this season. Moderate southwesterly forecast. Just might play to see whether or not that's an advantageous position to be in. I do think he's going to be very hard to beat, finding the top, but I just don't think he's... I think he's well enough found by the market. 270 is not going to get me. And in almost the exact same manner as last start, he's likely to have a very progressive Cerise and White Galloper camped on him in First Beach, who I'm not exactly a huge rap the field he put away in the Ladies' Day Sprint at Geraldton, Brad, but it has proven strong form in the region since that race, and he's still so lightly raced, only had the 3 starts in his career and only going to get better, and also gets Pike aboard for the first time, so you suspect that he'll be happy to kick up and camp right on the back of the favourite throughout in running, and could be rinse and repeat, unfortunately, for Rachenko from last start, if that is the case.
Yeah, isn't it funny sometimes a horse gets your respect more in defeat than it does in victory, and it sounds a bit funny to say, but Rachenko, I thought it was a massive performance, so certainly don't want to be taking it on too hard. But happy to put the pen through the entire last prep of Comic Hero rolls. Just thought things didn't go to plan, and sneaky nice trial. It's out to like $14 each way. 3-back fence type of run. Late split through them can absolutely put in a performance. So that's where I'll probably be looking each way there, Comic Hero.
Don't mind it. If they are making some ground and swooping home, it does, and they do overcook things in front. Like we see a last style bender really go up and eyeball Rachenko, then it could bring a horse like an Righto into calculations, who will get back and flood home late. I thought that was a quality win last start as well.
Be a good form race, that too, going forward for sure.
We're up to race number 5, and you're working with Riley and also McGinnity here on Straight Up. And this is the WA Racehorse Owners Association plate over the 1,200 metres. Time to go 10 past 3. And one of our favourites, he's back, Bruce Almighty. 41, Ain't No Other Man, 950. Can't Be Done, 61. Hell I Am, 12. Bit of action here, McGinnity. 6 into 390 Antique Miss. Snow Prince, specced into 18. Son of the Boss, 11 to 950. Generosity is 310. Little Silver, 34. Specking. Blue Lagoon, our girl, at $21. Diamba is 10 into 7. And Harmika at $23.
I'm not angry, Mart. I'm disappointed that you didn't meerkat me harder for Antique Miss.
Well, it is what it is.
You've changed.
Celebrating all night,
changed.
mate. I'm a bit tired.
Sobriety has changed you, Mark.
Trump parties everywhere.
I was trying to get him up and about. You know, you walk in. I reckon I've got a good feeling about you today, Mark.
Went for about 3 races. 3 races and gone.
You've given me about a week of good work, and then you've said, I've had enough. It's me done.
We'll start with Antique Miss.
Yes.
400 at the 6, another 400 at the 6, 600 at the 440. Diamba, 1,000 places at the 290, 880 places at the 320, and a smaller win component there for Diamba. And the money is just starting to trickle in now for Generosity. Ross.
What did you make of her run last start, Brad? Generosity, your current favourite in the market?
At first look, I thought a touch plain. And then when you see the head on, it was sort of bumping and squeezy, and the tempo wasn't that great. So just happy to forgive, and still thought the run was fine. So, but gee, are you going to allude to the fact that it's getting near D-Day for this horse? Because I tend to agree.
Yeah, that's what I was getting at.
Yeah.
She was travelling up behind them like she was absolutely bolting. And then she got out and sectionally she was great, but then she looked like she was going to sprint straight past all the Kingsmen, who was first up for near on 2 years, and she just ground it looked as though she just ground for the remainder of that race and couldn't get past him to the wire. So that was, I guess, my little query on the strength of her last start performance. They take the blinkers off her here. She's back in grade, but she's also likely to settle close enough to or last in running here from the barrier. I just think she's probably short enough at $3. I wouldn't be piling into her at $3 back in class. I'm actually going to back a couple here, Mart.
Yep.
I'm going to have something on the drift on the 4, who's first up in WA for Grant and Alana Williams in Hell I Am. This horse has a very good fresh record, and I thought his run first up in the Wagga Town Plates last preparation from a very wide barrier was enormous. In defeat, I thought that his recent trial staving off Love and War, who subsequently ran second in an Asian Bow, was very good. Opened up at $6.50. He's out to double that price now, and at that price, first up in WA for a very good camp, I'd be happy to spec him with that drift. And the other, who I don't love this bet as much as Hell I Am and specking him, but D'Amber's just been going great guns for a while now and struggling to win all the same. They scratched from Wednesday to save for this race. I thought that she was huge from a wide barrier on opening day in what's proven a very hot form race behind Cosmic Crusader, and she got home from back in the field there in pretty much identical late splits to Woburn Gold, and we saw what Woburn Gold was able to come out and do last Saturday. She's drawn softer. She drops 1.5 kilos at the weights on that run. She's likely to have map advantage on a horse like a Generosity. I just thought you could see double figures about her late, and I'd be happy to spec her at that price as well. So a little bit of value there for me, looking around the top 2 in the market with Generosity and Antique Miss, who is absolutely flying. I just have to query the setup 14 back to 1,200 metres third up, Brad.
Yeah, with you 100% in your thoughts about Antique Miss. It'd be a magnificent training effort if they could pull it off, that's for sure. With you, Hell I Am, on the drift, $16 each way around the traps is plenty to find out off a lovely trial, a good form trial. And
really good trial.
And a gun camp and setup. So, yep, that'll get me involved. And if it any sort of NOV activity, etc., I'd be very interested in throwing Blue Lagoon in there. I reckon a bit of a forgive last start. Trial was good. Blue Lagoon's got ability. Your horse, Brookie.
Yeah, Brooke.
Mart.
Yes, Jimmy boy, Jim the Pommy Pie texting in. Yes, Jim, we are doing the Ascot Quaddie competition again.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, Barbara Butchers.
Get them in. Plenty coming through. They're rolling now.
Alco, 36 units. That's the record thus far. That's a good... I hope he took it because it paid 900. It's good money.
Floodgates are open.
Stephanie's on to me again. What's wrong with you, Mart? What about Brad's tips? I'm sorry, Steph. As Riley just alluded to, the memory, it's going. So we got to race 4, number 9, First Beach for Bradley, and race 5, number 2, Ain't No Other Man.
Are we querying the authenticity of Stephanie?
Well, I've never received a text off Stephanie before, so I'm not saying it's definitely her name, but that's the name she's put on the text.
But it's one of those ones that says maybe Stephanie.
Yeah, maybe Stephanie.
What racing royalty is attending the BHT next Friday? Are you going to be there to buy me a pint, Riley? Yes, I will.
You should be buying lots of pints after last week.
I will certainly be there to buy a pint. What racing royalty? Are there any Doyens involved?
Yeah, Doyen. Dean McCauley's hosting.
Is he really?
Yeah, and Timmy Walker. Tear him up, Timmy. They're the two.
Geez, they must have some money around here that we aren't seeing if you've the Doyens hosting.
And then we are going to be running around with mobile mics. You'll get up and do some tips. McGinnity will have his prices. It's all going off. $100 vouchers. We're giving them away left, right and centre. 5 of them. 5.
Exciting. Isn't it, Brad?
It's going to be competitions. Biggest.
Are any of the public going to see one of these 5 vouchers, Mart? Or are they all just...
Listen, I would not touch one the form I'm in at the moment. I'd give them away. The boys are looking good there at Northam, aren't they? They do a very good job on 7+.
Lockie might have got a new haircut, I think.
Fresh haircut, I reckon.
Let's move it on. Race number 6. We haven't got time to dilly because we have got Northern chasing coming up. And here in race number 6, the first leg of that Barbaro Butcher's Quaddie. And Lucky Grace. That's just about it, isn't it? Hey? Be optimistic. You've got to be optimistic. Be optimistic.
You could not have murdered that.
Is 50. Starry Heights is 850. The winner, Buckets Ridge, 360. Curramundi is 9. Blazing Away, 51. 34 is Holy Enchantment Spec. Another Chino, 34. Barra Magic, 126. Diamond Scene, 550 to 440. Fat Roy Slims, 41. Frigid's 14. In Good Order, 850. Captain Chaos, 31. Red Sun Sensation, 21 into 14. You get that. And Sentimental Hero, 14 into 12.
Oh, you had it $14, did you, Mark?
What's that?
Red Sun Sensation.
No, what I meant was 21 into 14. I get the betting on it. That's what I meant.
Yeah, and that's why I was poking. Just to see what price you had it.
I didn't do a market on this race.
Okay.
It was too hard for me. I got my apprentice to do it.
That's what I do sometimes. Diamond Scene, Mart.
Yep, one of mine.
500 at the 5, 500 at the 480. Starry Heights, 500 at the 850. You can reload. Red Sun Sensation, 500 places at the 525. And some each-way support. Obviously, some of them from the young camp. Bit of Curramundi each-way money. I like that. And rank and file money down the bottom there. Curramundi, Starry Heights, Buckets Ridge. So the real big money Buckets Ridge hasn't come yet, Mart.
No, it'll come.
It'll come. Probably the race I'm most keen to play into on the weekend, the Lucky Grey, Brad, but one that, albeit, does look quite tricky from a speed perspective in terms of where it actually comes from in this one. I thought maybe you'd see a horse. Yeah, you'd see maybe another Chino, Luke Campbell, push forward from 6. We could see Barra Magic ridden aggressively from 1 if he steps. Red Sun Sensation was the other one I thought could really charge across and pour it on from barrier 10. But it looks as though, obviously, Pike would have had the pick of Starry Heights and Buckets Ridge. Starry Heights a month off since that Kalgoorlie Cup triumph. I thought his trial behind Western Empire on Monday was outstanding. I thought it was a terrific trial under Chanel Cooper. I thought his work through the line under virtually no riding was very strong, Mart. I know you're a big Starry Heights man, and I'm sure it would have been a tough call for Pike to make in terms of which one he rides, but he's opted for Buckets Ridge off that superb win in the Northern Cup against what was the perceived pattern of the day, right down the outside, picked them up, off a trial and 6 weeks between runs. It was a massive performance from the barrier. He'll get back again, but stay out of trouble, which is a positive for a big horse who needs that room to wind up and grind his way into the race. But I can't help but suggest, with better luck at a crucial stage, that Curramundi beats him home in that Northern Cup, gets a couple of kilos on him here for that luckless half-length margin at the finish, and he's going around at almost 3 times the price at the moment. So he's another, much like the favourite, who's only going to get stronger over 1,800 metres. You go back to his win in the Diggers Cup from a wide draw earlier this year, Brad. That was a huge win, 2 from 3 at the track and distance. He should be able to park closer to the speed from the draw with hopefully a bit more luck at getting clear and being put into the race that he was afforded in that Northern Cup. So at the price differential, I'm happy to be with Curramundi. And also a horse I'm keeping a close watch on and hopefully backing as well is Diamond Scene, just from the strength of that form he brings coming through that Asian Bow. Quickest last 200 metres of the race. Bodes super for the rising trip, third up to the 1,800 metres. He's clearly, for me, Brad, come back a better horse this campaign. He's drawn well. He's on the quick backup. I actually had him marked favourite in my market, Diamond Scene, and it was a pretty open race, but Diamond Scene and Curramundi, with how it currently situates itself, are the 2 horses I'm looking at backing in this race on the weekend.
So what price are you giving Mart for Buckets Ridge then?
I was around that $4.80.
$4.80? Wow.
$4.85.
Opinions game each way. Curramundi, we're holding hands walking into the sunset together here, Rolls. Curramundi each way. Win, lose or draw, this is, for me, at the $10, $11 mark, the easiest each way bet of the day to have. Things can and will go wrong in racing, but this is a bet that just looks the right bet.
Sure. It's a good horse on
it just
day.
Looks the right bet. It should have won last start. A few figures before that, it's got class. It does have enough of a turn of foot to get itself out of trouble. On its day, it can settle handier too sometimes as well. So just hoping for a shooter special.
Even with those zeros in the form guide from further back than last start, I thought his run in the Eurythmic was super.
Yeah.
He's going very well, and he's as you mentioned, a classy horse when he gets rock hard fit and he gets out to these sort of trips. So
he's 2 from 3 track and distance. But, so leave you with that. So you're putting it in the book?
Diamond Scene and Curramundi in the book. Little 2-horse play for me, Mart.
You're doing a lot of 2-horse plays lately. I've noticed this.
Old Dutch Morgan over there.
Yeah, old Dutchy Morgan. Yeah. So we're race 6.
Old Dutchy Kolkata Morgan.
Or you can just choose one and back one of them each way if you're not inclined to bet like
Now, we've got a bit to talk about here. Saturday, Flemington bonus, because we're going to Durham very shortly. Receive a 10% bonus on your winnings up to $50 for fixed odds singles win bets placed on any race at Flemington on Champions Day. The offer is available for wagers placed after 8 a.m. Western Standard Time, Friday, November 8th.
Champions Day.
Okay, over that. And also, money back second and third up to $50, all races on Saturday at Flemington.
There you have it.
They're keen to get your money and hopefully you can beat them, the bookie boys.
Or they can give it back to you.
They want to give it back. You stay in the game. Unless you run fourth.
Just
Northern race 6.
Settle down a few of these disgruntled punters at the moment. Good offer.
3. Okay, let's move on now to the second leg of that Barbaro Butchers quaddie. Get your Barbaro Butchers quaddies in. Now remember to screenshot them, Riley. You're 0 from 4, I reckon, so we'll try again tonight.
You want me to screenshot all of them?
Got to get them all. Just screenshot the lot.
Okay.
Now, this is the main event of the day, isn't it, Riles? The C-Core Fair Stakes over the 1400. What was the big lefty doing, calling it the Lee Steere?
Oh, no. We might have to get that out taken down, I think, Mark.
Big Shots 81 too. No, in all seriousness, very good race. So Dreamalot's 31, been spec'd. Street Band 20, True Apostle 26, September Born 260 to 235, Horcrux 950, Olympic Park 460, Pond Master 41, Ripper Farouk 17 into 9, Exceed the Planet 21, The Merry Man. Don't play The Merry Man. 11 into 750. Patron Express is 19 and Across Generations at 41.
It's the mythical triple-headed.
Yes, I think it's up.
What a race, gentlemen.
Yes.
September Born, 1,000 at the 235. Well, guess what? The Merriman, 400 at the 750, but at the bigger prices early, 200 at the 11, 250 at the 950, the Merriman. Patron Express, Mart.
Yeah, Patron.
Plenty of each way support there. Got out to that $23 mark. A few Sharpies got involved each way.
Well, September Born, blinkers on, Bradley. We actually saw something similar to the task faced by this horse in last year's Faritha with the eventual winner of the WA Guineas in Zip Away. I think many wanted to be with him off his back-to-back wins to kick off that campaign, but he drew really wide in the Faritha. Everyone knew with the Guineas as his target or one of his grand finals, he was likely to go right back. They weren't going to knock him around. And with the race shape and how the track played on that day, it's exactly how it unfolded. He was just set too big of a task to win that race. And by race 7, the good thing is we'll have a guide as to whether or not they can make some ground up down the middle of the track. But he does have the task ahead of him, Brad, from another very wide barrier with 2 more important races to come in the Guineas and the Northerly. So He's a deserving favourite, I think, off his outstanding return in the Belgravia, and he trialled like an absolute beast in the blinkers, getting the better of Wind and the Lion pretty powerfully as well, prior to not actually wearing them for his first up run this campaign. But I think $2.35 is... There's not a great deal of value there for me, personally, although I did have him favourite. Do you concur, Brad?
I do concur, Ross. The speed map's interesting, isn't there? You've got Horcrux and Ripper Farouk. Probably, look, the two to head forward and a couple handy, but not a great deal of pace aside from that, which also makes the task sticky for September Born. Interested in seeing what effect the blinkers have in regards to how it leaves the gates and also how it settles, and whether by design they mean the horse settles more forward, possibly, because it was very prominent in the trial with the blinkers on and travelling as well. So
then I guess you put yourself at risk of being the one carting up the 3 wide line or It's interesting. Going to make a case for a few at odds. I think Street Band's over the odds. I'm not sure he can sprint with September Born if they balanced up alongside each other, but the way he finished off without a cart into the race in the Belgravia like September Born got, I think he'd certainly make a race of it and is only going to get better as they step him up in trip.
And what about Trevor Andrews at the moment?
Tricky. He's won the race a few times, I reckon, the Trickster. Twice.
Just wouldn't be surprised to see this horse go massive up to the 1,400 metres.
It's a must for the Novs.
Exceed the Planet was outstanding. I didn't think I'd find this horse. Thought it was maybe just, got the right run. And then once you go back and dissect it, he had a pretty checkered passage in the straight, but he's got to the line in a very similar last 200 metres to the favourite, who was able to flow into the race nicely on straightening and was only really, I thought, getting warm, over the last 100 metres, and should be able to position up in front of the favourite here in running as well from yet another nice barrier. So I think there'll be many that'll drop off him because he was sent around $151 in that race, but he was a massive run, a really good run. And then you throw in Olympic Park. The Merryman should have knocked off Elite Missile last start, who we'll touch on later on in the last. Drops a couple of kilos and gets Pike on from a plum barrier draw. How good could Elite Missile be? We don't know. He could be a proper Guineas contender, and he was every bit as good as he was over the 1,400 last start and gets to this race, as mentioned, with a few more things in his favour. It's a cracking race.
And Horcrux, who looks like the 1,400 will be beneficial as well. Mart, I've got 2 posters on my bedroom wall at home.
Yes.
One of yourself and the other one of Olympic Park.
Like it.
I'm
action shot.
Let's not get into detail. Very concerned about the 1,400. I think it might almost be looking for the mile already. So I don't think it's a punting proposition unless there's some sort of mad drift, but I'm very excited to see what this horse can do going forward.
I'm going to ask you a question about the race. So since 2000, if Paul Harvey has won the race 5 times, this is just a guess, right, for you guys. You'd only be guessing because the recency bias kicks in with you too, more so with you.
Recency bias.
Recency bias.
It's a hotel, Rolls.
Yeah. If Paul Harvey has won it 5 times, how many times has William Pike won it?
How many times for Pike?
This is since 2000.
I'm going to guess 6.
I'd guess 2.
Yeah, 1.
Yeah.
Oh,
Only won it once.
really?
Yeah. Interesting stat. Anyway, we move on.
Yep, I think we can move on. Olympic Park, Brad, just quickly, was one that at the price, I was happy to look around. I just think once you break down that last start win, as visually impressive as it was, and he still had to actually go out there and do it and win from where he found himself, it was I thought it was a weaker 60 plus. They really clapped the speed on up front and they were all just stopping late. If he can sit right back and launch over this field in this company against his own age group, I think it's warranted that he's already pinned up on the wall there, up there at the Vines.
Yeah, for me, it's more so the fact that it was still 6 lengths off him at the 150-metre mark and was just out-sprinted when the sprint went on, and it sort of settled in the right position and looked like it was the right place to be in the race, but just the fact that they just left it and then what happened late, which is, exactly why I'm still concerned about the 1,400 Ross. So be just looking forward to seeing it smoking the line.
Okay, so the betting futures for the WA Guineas is September Born $3, Olympic Park $3.75, Elite Missile 9, Horcrux 10, Flower of Gold 11, Anode, Patron Express 13. So a lot of them have got a bit to play in this race on Saturday as they normally do in the Fair Ether. Need to clear those divvies at Northern Greys on that previous, the opener, 4182, Winnie's Wisdom, Bradley Mitchum, $3.20, $1.90, Renegade Bull, $1.50, Rockabye Miss, $1.90, $4.50, Quinella, $11.10 exacta, Trifecta, $46.60, 418 and 2, first four, 257.20, number 7 was out. Northern Greys race number 2, 1 Zulu Buddy 462, Common View 17, 3 High Level 350, 4 Yunder Up Sky 23, 5 is Kyle Ray 21, 6 is Goldie Keeping 750, 8 Beautiful Babe $3, 10 Moment for Life will jump from box 7 is 480, and Ryan tipping 8, 6, 1 and 3. Right, let's get moving again, and we go to race number 8, the main event of the day, the Perth Racing Member Appreciation Lee Steere Stakes, Group 2, 1400, and at number 1 is Valor Road, and this is $9. 2, Bustler, 13 to 11, 3 Tricks of the Trade, 23, 4 Comfort Me, 6 into 4, 5 Casino 17's 26 from 51, 6 Let's Gallivant 11, 7 Magnificent Andy 428, Zipperways 950, 8 River Rubicon 34, 10 Alaskan Gold 34, Search and Rocks 420.
Mart.
Yes.
Cracking betting race. Comfort Me, Eastern States Pros have circled this one. 500 at the 550, 400 at the 480, 300 at the 480, 1,000 places at the $1.90. Bustler, 800 places at the 360. Magnificent Andy, 600 at the $4. A bit about wide Casino 17 money, gentlemen. And some local pro money, Search and Rocks.
Pretty good follow-up to the feature, isn't it, Mark?
Oh, it's a big traditional lead up to the railway.
Now, I know our good friend who's slaving away out there battling the flies at Northam this afternoon, Lockie Taylor, copped a bit of a whack from one of our loyal listeners on the text line here for saying on Racing Rewind that Search and Rocks was the run of the race in defeat in Eurythmic. And I have to concur with him, I think, and I was pretty happy to follow Super Smink into the Asian Bow last Saturday, but Search and Rocks in that Eurythmic was massive. But the thing is it rinse and repeat from where he's drawn again with a Fadonga? Widest barrier, 11 of 11. Where does he get to, Brad?
Could get a touch Lionel.
Could get very Lionel. Just can't see it. Just can't see where he gets to unless he goes right back. And I wouldn't like that.
Or have a crack at the breeze.
You could. Is a horse like a Valor Road going to come out and look for that spot? Is a horse like a Let's Gallivant, if he begins, one that you could see rolling forward here?
That's the query I have on Let's Gallivant too. I'm half keen to get involved with Let's Gallivant, but I'm worried about how it's jumping at the moment. It's sort of a bit hit and miss. So.
If he could find the breeze or jam himself in somewhere in that first half, if he's not already in the game, he'd be right in the game then of how he finished off first up.
Yep.
He was huge. No bet for me in this race, Marty. Great race. I thought Bustler, I didn't mind his work late over the last 100 metres, was just getting warm. He's much better suited here under the weight for age conditions, and I think he's going to get a much better run, 3 back, 1 off the fence sort of areas. So I could see him running a massive race. Magnificent Andy was a superb run in the Eurythmic. Slight worry about barrier 1 for him, given he's just not jumping all that well at the moment. And if he were to end up 3 back the fence, as he has been a little bit, as mentioned, slow to step, if he can hold the back of Comfort Me throughout, he's just going to get such a great run and track into the race on straightening, and does get a 3.5 kilo swing at the weights in his favour on Comfort Me for that length or so defeat. 1.4 lengths from the Eurythmic. So he gets in well in that regard. Just barrier 1 is a slight concern for me, and the big question mark is, what do you do with Zipperway?
Well, that's what I was about to ask. Remember we discussed it in the Asian Bow, wasn't it? So what's it doing in this race? And it's end up in this race. Why is it $10, $9.50?
Wait for age with a handicap grand final coming up. You just... Sometimes you have to ask yourself, are the camp going to be just pretty happy to have the horse probably just settle back, smoke through the line? I think it's a class horse. And I think at the moment it's probably, at the prices, when you look around the traps for the railway, it's probably about the only horse I want to be on for the railway at the current prices.
Yeah, it's just I don't think the fact that he's 7 days behind schedule is any cause for concern. It's just not ideal that the preparation hasn't gone exactly how they had, or hasn't gone to plan A anyway. That's my little concern, Marty. Would that be fair?
Yeah, but I think he had a bit of time and, you know, why it happened. We sort of know what happened there, so it's not as if it's sustained
there's no real
a little injury and he's been... you know, working against time to get him right for it. Just on that Railway Stakes market, so Super Sphinx 6, Zip Away 11, Tom Kitten 13, Craig 13, or 15, Love and War 15, Bustler, and Cosmic Crusade. I won't go into too many of them. There's a lot of Eastern Staters named.
Well, we talk about a few of those horses that are still going to battle to get a start, like Love and War and Cosmic Crusade are probably up against it. Need to have a look at the Peters or something like that. Who's getting on the plane? We don't know. There are that many queries at this stage on the race going forward, and Zip Away does look the one when it gets back to a handicap condition that you want to be on.
Okay, so no bet for you, Riles. We got time for a text off the Retrovision text line?
We do. Kevin from Greylands has texted in. He says, Search and Rocks will be winning and winning well. Agree with that listener. Run of the race, take it to the bank. Pretty confident there. And he's followed up. Can Brad put up a market that has September born to go unbeaten from Saturday till the new year? Cannot and will not lose again this preparation.
Very forthright text.
Big statements from
Kevin, yes.
Kevin from Greylands.
Okay, up to that final leg of the Barbaro Butchers Quad M. Barbaro Butchers, don't forget, they are the best out there. Best small goods, voted Australia's best ham for their semi-boneless leg ham. Award-winning small goods. Family-owned and operated since 1987. Premium local West Australian farm produce. Support your local businesses, and you can find Barbaro Butchers small goods at your local independent deli and grocer, or you head out to 120 Cockburn Road in Greenwood and get involved in that wonderful butcher shop out there. The South African Airways Handicap over the 1,400 metres. Great to have them back in the skies. And this is over at 5:45. One Keshi Boom, 440. Two above the peg is 34 in from 51. Three without Reg, 23. Four Exel Trainers, 13 into 950. Five Laquetta's Gift, 21. Six So War, 61. Seven Harbin, 13 into 11. Eight Speak to Me, 6 to 550. Bondi Plunge is a meerkats, 13 into 7. Yarralay, $16. Elite Missile, 444.20. The Spruker, 41. Major Mario, 13. And Thorogood down the bottom is $61.
Early Bondi Plunge support each way, the $13 there. After that, we've still got more support, including 250 at the 950, 350 at the 750. Sneaky 20 at the 10 there as well. Keshi Boom, plenty of money piling up.
Yep.
Behind Keshi Boom. 600, 500, 300, 250, 200, 200, 200 at the 440, so that they can, reload. Excel Train, 700 places at the 380. Elite Missile, that's starting to build. This would be Duffy's best of the day, wouldn't it?
I think so.
The Missile.
Zach's texted in, he said, are they giving Marty free frequent flyer points for giving South African Airlines a bit of a toot then?
Oh, you'd be fun on safari, Mart.
Oh, I've been on one. It's good fun.
Now, we actually do, this is a good question, in fact, from the great man Benny from Bunbury.
Yeah.
He says, Marty, I love your stats. Where has Paul Harvey been the last few months?
Don't know, and I did promise we were going to try and find out, so stay tuned.
All right, well,
we missed the pond.
We do
miss the Pont. In Pont we trust.
Yeah.
We'll put that on hold and try and get that one sorted out soon for you, Benny. But, yes, final race on the day.
Maybe,
Brad.
Rolls, the Pont will be at the Broken Hill. That'd be a get, Mart. Go on, make it happen. If anyone,
more chance of getting to Ascot than the Broken Hill.
Ginger might have a bit more chance of getting the Pont than Mart.
Yeah.
I reckon.
No hope.
Make it happen, Mart.
On what I...
He dislikes people more than me.
No.
Pont.
Surely not.
He does.
All right, race 9. Now, on a very tricky betting program, Marty.
Yes.
I have a best bet in the last. We do have to keep our powder dry, but there is a little asterisk next to it as well. Just on the track and how the track plays up until that point of the day. But I think Elite Missile could be a very good horse.
Yes.
And think if Brad Parnham can find the right track into the race from that wide barrier, that he has the right profile and the ability to be blousing these late. I'm still unsure how he got that bob in that photo finish first up after looking hopeless with 200 to go, but he picked himself up. He let down powerfully and he got the job done. Gets 3.5 kilos off his back here with that 3-year-old allowance, and if they have shown they can make some ground. He's on his way to a Guineas. I don't think he would have looked at all out of place or uncompetitive. I think he would be very competitive if he was in the Faritha opposed to this race. I think that he's just better than these with the right run and the weight. So it's a wait and see for me, but I found it a very tricky card overall and was happy to make Elite Missile a good bet to round out the day.
Love the confidence. I don't share it, but I love it. I have very little opinion on this race, Rolls. I think you'd notice the same thing. The lack of speed in the race makes it a very, very tricky one for me to want to have a bet in. We've got probably Excel Train leading, and is that about it in regards to tempo?
Speak to Me, I thought would push forward.
Handy, yeah.
Thoroughgood could hold a spot.
Handy.
Yeah, there isn't a great deal of speed.
So that's
but there's
like
going to be a 3-deep line.
Yeah, it looks like it. But will the 3-deep line be chasing a leader that sort of slips away? So, yeah.
And that's why it's a bet that I'm not placing early or getting involved now.
Just want to see the pattern.
Yeah.
Finishing up the quaddie legs here for Brad of Maylands. Race 6, number 3, Buckets Ridge. Race 7, number 5, September Born. Race 8, number 1, Vela Road. And race 9, number 1, Keshi Boom. The Maylands Mauler is back.
Keshi Boom's an interesting horse. Isn't she, Brad, in this final race?
Well, every man and his dog wanted to be on it first up, didn't they?
Plunged in betting. Never got... didn't really get a look at them until very late, but even then, were you perhaps a little unenthused with how, once she did find that gap, she got through the line?
Having been the bloke that went up $6 and saw it get backed in a 240 at one stage, I was just sort of happy to see it not there in the finish.
Oh, wow.
But it was a little bit...
that would have been the old tap on the shoulder on the Monday morning.
Hey?
Come in here, Brad. Let's just have a chat.
Just opinions.
Warranted?
Not sure that was warranted.
Ah, yes. Little backhanded self-trumpet.
I like
see many of them these days.
It's taken...
It's an interesting technique.
It's taken Mart 2 hours and 23 minutes in to switch on a bit.
Well, mate, I shouldn't have to be producing, should I?
No.
Is that a self-importance?
Even doing the desk is bad enough. You want me to produce as well?
Oh, I hope Package isn't listening.
I hope he is.
He's not happy.
Come on. So we'll just park it there because we've got Northern race number 7. They're milling around behind the barriers.
We'll get back to best bets on the other side.
Exactly. And let's get our best bets for Saturday's big meeting.
Best bets for me. It's thin, very tricky program. Race 5, number 4, Hell I Am on the drift, and I'll have something on the 11, D'Amber, in that same race. In the Lucky Grey Stakes race, I'm most keen to play from a betting perspective. I'm going to be backing number 9, Diamond Scene, and also number 4, Curramundi.
Yep.
In the Lucky Grey. Although it's a cracking race, plenty of winning chances. And in race number 9, little asterisks around my best bet of the day, Elite Missile, hoping they have shown by this stage they can make a little bit of ground up. I think he's a very nice 3-year-old, and that's the way I'll round out the day if conditions are permitting.
Throwing out 5 each way. Race 1, Affluential, around the $7 mark. Race 4, Comic Hero each way at the $15. Race 5, with you rolls Hell I Am each way at the $15 mark. Race 6 with you again, Curramundi each way. That sort of $10 or $11 is the each way bet of the day for me. And race 8, Let's Gallivant each way, $12. Hoping it can step rolls and set it a little bit closer, and then it will be right in the money.
You'd be very happy if he could. Very happy in the run.
Gee, you've been good today. Thanks for coming in.
I'd like to say the same, Mark.
We hope you enjoyed another stimulating episode of Straight Up. All betting markets supplied by TABtouch. All care, no responsibility went into the production of today's podcast.